All right, we are live. Um, all right, good morning, everyone. I hope people outside the stage are able to hear us and see us. Please, you can also use the emojis to let us know that we are audible. Yeah, so- okay, sounds good. Welcome, everyone. So quickly, I'd want to kind of revisit a few things, particularly 2020 has been a year unlike any other, right? It has really left a mark on the way we live or the way we work, like forever, right? Things may not be, never go back to what it was earlier. Although we're talking about the pandemic last year, I think, the reality remains that we're still living through this pandemic. And somehow we have this social responsibility to start preparing for the post-pandemic world. We'd want to understand, so today in the session, we'd want to understand how we reflect on it, what have we learned, and what the business leaders really want HR to focus on in the year 2021. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Neena. I head HR at Erin. It's a global virtual conference platform where you can host high-value virtual events. And we're globally present. We're a fully virtual organization. And my responsibility is to spearhead HR for the global people and culture here. And quickly, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have Satish, who's a co-founder of Spotable. Then we have Saransh, who's a co-founder of Nova Benefits. We have Karthik, who's from um,
From Springworks.
yes, was and Abhimanyu from Scalar. I also want them to kind of quickly give an introduction about themselves. Satish, why don't you start?
Okay, thanks, Meena. It's pleasure to be here. As Meena mentioned, I'm a co-founder for Capital. So I have an advantage, here both as a and as an HR is going to be.
Not sure where the background is from. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was just sharing that I have an advantage of being a co-founder, view here and an HR view here. I'll be, happy to share based on how difficult questions Meena asked. I think I'll take my stand as being a founder or a HR. Spotable is predominantly in a space of a talent solution. That's what we do, and helping early stage organization in with a recruiting solution. That's the space that we operate. And HR, last 15 years I've been in HR, and large part of this has been with Flipkart for about 7 years plus. Been in the journey when they were about 700 people, seen that all grow about 12,000 people. In startup language, the 0 to 1 experience of building all of Center of Excellence function, most of the Center of Excellence function in Flipkart, I think I've been fortunate to be part of that journey. So happy to share the little learning that I have.
Okay, Satish, thank you. Saransh? Is still on mute, I suppose, Saransh.
Yeah, we're not able to hear you.
Not able to hear you.
No.
You might want to refresh and come back, Saransh. Meanwhile, we'll go to Karthik.
Sure. Hi, this is Karthik. So I graduated from Carnegie Mellon with masters in AI, and then started this company, Springworks. We basically build software for HRs from background verification and employee engagement. We've been doing this for almost around 6 years. Most of our customers are, US and India. We're around 150 people, kind of spread across 2 cities. Pre-COVID, and now we're all, remote. So part of our team is in California, part of our team is in Bangalore. And then we work with the likes of Apollo, Godrej, Credit, Simple, Mr. Mojo, and so some enterprise, but mostly SMB space is what we work with.
Okay, Karthik. Happy to learn from you today. Abhimanyu.
Thank you, Meena. So I'm Abhimanyu, been running InterviewBait and Scalar for almost 5 years now. We are in the space of helping engineers become much better techies, and of course, at the same time, helping all the companies, all the way from startups to the larger companies, help hire engineers. In the process, probably, been interacted with you, Meena, Satish, since your Flipkart days,
Yeah.
and then next to 10x days and throughout. So yeah, that is what we do. Creating abundance of tech talent and ensuring that companies do not face the shortage of talent when they're trying to hire.
Sounds good. Then also move to Saransh.
Let me see if this works. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. So hi, I'm Saransh. I'm the co-founder of Nova Benefits. We are an early stage company helping other companies get health insurance for their employees. So this, for me, this is like my second startup. We are at an early stage right now. So we in fact don't have an HR right now, and I'm kind of the HR person currently. So I'm dealing with the challenges, and I can see inefficiencies, and I'm looking to learn on what can we be doing better in a process. I've been part of like a big company setup before, so I can see. I also understand like how do HR policies affect. Down to the employee level, and what are the good things that are done and what are the not so good things that are done, and I'm hoping to learn from you and imbibe all the good stuff in our company as well.
Totally, Saransh. Thank you so much. Actually, one thing strike me is from Airmeet, if I have to see, I've worked with all four companies, be it Springworks. I am currently working with you all, right? And another great point is all of you had product startups, right? So this is going to be very helpful for HRs in the similar field who run smaller or scaling organizations and wanted to learn how 2021 is going to pan out for them. So quickly focusing on a few things that our speakers would like to know, perhaps a little better about the speakers, right? Right now we understood where you come from and what you're doing and all of that, but a little about you. So Satish, why don't you let me know something about yourself that is not on LinkedIn?
I think there are many things. I think it's a fairly easy question to answer, right? And one, I come from a very small village from Kerala. I think if it's 2-3 weeks back, you would have seen a similar background like Abhinmanyu or a far more greener background. And something I really love doing is how much of a time I can spend with nature on my breaks. I think something that's refreshing, something that I enjoy doing. So that's something you will not find in LinkedIn. Then second is like I can actually do cooking for a large bunch of people, a group of people, probably about say 25, 50 kind of groups, something that I enjoy doing. Yeah. I think after the founder journey, it's been tough, but yeah, before that, it used to be a regular thing to do. Yeah.
Nice. That is actually a really good skill, which I won't escape from. So Karthik, can we know something about yourself, which is not on LinkedIn?
Sure. So, I would say badminton is something I like to play almost every day. And given the work from anywhere, this is it's perfect. I can make up my own schedule and play like sometimes in the afternoon, evening, whatnot. So that is something I just generally like to do. It's a nice stress buster as well. Away from the phone, just have to play for an hour. It's a lot of fun. And then the second thing is, I think unlike most founders, I like to read actually a lot of fiction on my Kindle. So just cannot tolerate non-fiction. I think work is enough, and then after that, it just has to be crime fiction, and it's like a nice 30 to 45 minutes per day. Gets me away from like thinking about work and all of that.
Nice. I think, it's super important to pursue some kind of a hobby as such, right? But for Abhimanyu, I have a different question. Abhimanyu, what do you do when there is no internet? I mean, this is my favorite pet question.
My background might give you some hint. So I love gardening. And actually, just behind me, I have my kitchen garden, which can easily produce, 15 days worth of vegetables for the kitchen in the home. So gardening is something I love. And like it absolutely doesn't need internet yet.
That's beautiful. I think I like houseplants. So my house is full of houseplants. Not like gardening as such, it's just for aesthetics sakes. But that's a very good hobby. You kind of immerse yourself and you can't get enough of it, right?
Absolutely.
So Saransh, what do you do when there's no internet?
I was thinking Abhimanyu will say I get internet. Because for me, I'll just go out for a run. I like taking walks. I like going for a run. Helps me think more clearly. And so one of the morning routines that I have is I'll go for a run, then come home, do a bit of meditation, and then a bit of journaling. So I'll try and find some of that. I'll look at it as a blessing in some ways, because otherwise you're just always on your phone.
No, I think a little bit more. For example, say at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no internet for an hour. What would you do?
I think I'll just, unfortunately, the reality would be I'll try to do something related to work. But if it's on a Sunday, I'll pick up a book. There's a book I'm reading. It's on my laptop, so it doesn't need a connection. I'll probably just be reading.
Read a book. Read a
book.
book. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Okay, a quick rapid fire. No thinking. It's going to be a 1 second rapid fire. So it's going to be this or that, right? So Satish, work from home or hybrid work?
Hybrid work.
Saransh,
Hybrid work.
Abhimanyu,
Hybrid.
Karthik.
Work from home.
Absolutely. There you go. All right. So back to Karthik again. Email or Slack?
Slack.
Saransh, email or Slack? Satish,
Slack for sure, but I'm looking for something even better. We
even
need
better.
more engagement. Yeah.
Nice.
Slack is not enough.
For that. I'll be waiting for that. Okay, Satish, a bold HR or an expert in HR?
Bold HR.
Saransh, Abhimanyu,
Bold HR.
Karthik.
I think at our current stage, expert HR.
Got it. Okay, all right. Okay, Saransh, business result or overall well-being of the employee?
Overall well-being of the.
That's great.
That's a
Satish,
trick question.
I think it's a easy. It should be. This is a really an easy question. It's well-being. Anyway.
got it. Karthik,
Well-being of employees.
Abhimanyu,
Well, it's nuanced because I do believe that well-being is rooted in the business outcomes. Without business outcomes, it's not sustainable to give the well-being. So both have to be
you have to
coexist.
choose one, Abhimanyu. You want the left eye, you want the right eye. You need both, but you need to choose one now.
No, well, what I actually strongly believe is that one cannot exist without other. If employee well-being doesn't exist, then the business results cannot come, and if business results do not exist, then we cannot keep investing in well-being. So it's we cannot say we can pick one. We have to pick both.
Okay, so that this was not to not pick the other. It was like what you really focus on the most, right? That's okay. Your diplomatic answer is accepted. Now let's quickly move. So right now we're looking at a world where we are redefining HR, right? Age-old HR operations, people who did industry relationships are all gone. Even business partnering for that extent is no more going to be existing, is what we hear. But I'd like to understand from your end, how is the HR role really evolving? What do you think HR role should look like in 2021? It's a very open question, then we will narrow it down to a few other sectors. Satish, you want to start?
Yeah. I don't think fundamentally, anything is going to change from what HR was doing in the past or the expectations founders had on HR. I think nothing is going to fundamentally change, right? While the acceptability for organizations today to be hybrid, which all of us, I think most of us answered, right, about the hybrid model or being flexible from a workplace-based point, I think the acceptability is going to be higher than what we've seen in the past. This doesn't mean every organization is going to be virtual. I don't believe that everybody is going to be virtual, right? And there are challenges for especially early stage companies where a bunch of us belong to, and it's not easy for our own whiteboarding exercise to a bunch of things as founders and our leadership team that we enjoy doing at office. A lot of those challenges are there, but keeping all of this apart, right? Fundamentally, I think the expectation for founders to be HR to really knowing business and building solutions which are very, very contextual to businesses, I think that's not going to change. And I think that's going to be the demand that founders will continue to have from HR people. And the more that you get aligned to business, the more understanding that you bring, understanding about business. I think I fundamentally believe also in this, right? The more you understand this, you have 80% of time spent in understanding the problem statement and understanding the business. I think you only need 20% of time to solve the problem, right? And I think if every HR can shift their mindset in terms about going deeper in understanding the talent problem or business problem, I don't look at each of them to be different, right? If you go spend more time on it, I think the solutions can come. And if I, as a founder, and I've also been in the current role, I also advise a bunch of startups and founders. So this has been the consistent thing I have heard from founders too. I think as a community, if I had to tell, there is one thing that everyone need to uplift in the HR community. I think it's understanding businesses deeply. I'm not saying everybody, but I think as a community, we can do a lot in terms of uplifting that. I think that's one thing that I would see, especially founder community will have higher and higher demand on it. The complexities of being virtual, complexities of being hybrid have increased. I think the ask hence will go to a different degree than that it was in 2020. Yeah. And if I can pick up some of the examples, right? I mean, some of us actually, Abhimanyu, I know both of our organizations support early stage companies, and Abhimanyu, of course, support larger companies too on hiring. Earlier, if you were talking to 10 people for a startup job opening, right, as a recruiter, you must have had like 4 people saying yes, and 6 of them saying that I don't want to look for a job in startup. With pandemic, that actually the numbers have come down significantly down to probably 1 or 2. Okay? So I think as a founder, what I would love to see my HR doing is how much of actually my talent, this is especially for talent acquisition team, right? How much of my story has been heard by the talent outside? How much of my business is being understood by my talent outside? Do they really see this to be a challenging problem and there is something significant that we are solving outside, right? I think the whole engagement with candidate has to go a very different level in the new world, because your supply is reducing. The demand for job has not reduced, right? Whether pandemic or not pandemic, the jobs and the demands on that side, except for a few months, I have not seen a big change in terms of the demand pre-pandemic. So the whole way you engage, how do you build relationship? It's not just outside of the organization, even inside of the organization. And you need to be empathetic towards this talent and the pool outside, right? I think how do you, the empathy quotient for being higher and, being very, very high, I think that's something that I would expect my HR team to do as a founder. And how do you build that human touch, whether digital solutions come or not, right? I think there is no way I believe that HR can be replaced or people behind the scene will get, not there because of digital solution. How do you marry both digital solutions with human touch? I think that is the capability that I would look for the HR to bring, or the expectation that I would have from HR.
Beautiful, Satish. I think quickly summarizing, you touched upon how important it is to kind of focus on employee experience, right? That is not just from the point that after they join, it's before they join, how we're creating visibility, how we're creating the value proposition to attract people in the market, especially for startups. That's a great point. I think, and the next was so how do we really bring them in and then really look at the complexities of how we work right now? Things are going to be, we don't know if everybody wants to work from home, wants to work hybridly. So we need to stay extremely flexible. Complexities of such scenarios puts pressure back on HR to see how people are productive. Do we have to look at productivity as our importance, or should we look at their safety as our importance, right? So I think those are the things that we need HR to keep thinking and be extremely flexible about how we put our processes forward. Those great points, Satish. Quickly moving to Karthik, what are your thoughts?
So I think fundamentally, the role of the HR should be slightly redefined. Right now, the HR generally reports to the CEO or to the management. I think that should just kind of go away, and should just report to the board to just have a lot more flexibility and a lot more power and transparency across the business, right? So I think kind of talking about like what Abhimanyu said, right? Like they have to be able to understand both business and talent, and then for them to kind of really make an impact, they have to be answerable, or I guess reporting to the board, so they have that flexibility and they have that transparency as well. And then they have to be the employees advocates, right? Whenever we talk to a new HR, like you have to be, your customer is the employee, right? If you're able to treat the employee as your customer, I think then you solve 95% of the job, right? And it's not like, oh no, I want to make sure the company is saving every single money, or is doing everything possible, right? But it should be the other way around. So that's one. Second, I think on the talent side, what will happen is given with this work from anywhere, I think companies in, say, especially in the US and Europe, will definitely attract talent from India, right? And most, if not all, there will be some like a big portion of employees who will be working from anywhere, even if it's hybrid, right? Say 3 days in the office, 2 days in from anywhere. They would be like, oh yeah, I'm anyway not going to the office, I'm working from this place, why can't I work for a company in the US, right? So there will be a talent war for sure. So which and there is no way money can solve that, right? Because it will be impossible to match the salaries of, or what a company in the US is paying. So then how can you kind of build an employer brand? How can you focus on everything except the money part, right? How do you have new types of perks? How do you have good culture? How do you focus on productivity? And as Satish said, how do you kind of bring the human touch back, right? So all of these things need to be done well. There are lots of solutions, and I don't think there's a lack of solution. It's just now how do you use them, like in the new remote world, and then how do you kind of bridge the gap, right? So we could still do offsites. People were doing offsites pre-COVID as well, so why can't we do offsites now? It may be slightly more expensive with people distributed across the country, but it's still it's reasonable. So I think all of that needs to be done well. And then finally, HRs traditionally have used less technology. I think that is going to be completely a 180-degree shift, right? Now everything is technology, right? Be it Slack, email, what do you call it, Discord, or any of these new apps which come up, right? Like have to be always in the know how, okay, this is how it works, this is this is the advantage, there's Notion, there is something else in 2 years, right? All of these things are going to only increase, right? So they have to be able to kind of adapt to new technologies very easily, because they are going to be bringing these changes in the company, and that is only going to improve the productivity of an employee in all the company.
That's beautifully said, Karthik. I think while Satish focused on business centricity, I think Karthik is now focusing on the customer centricity. How HR is the is more not necessarily people operations. It's more from people success, right? They have to really like customer success. There's people success. So hone that hat of people success. And I love that point where you mentioned that HR should be reporting to the higher ups, to the board, right? Because I kind of feel that's going to benefit in a lot of ways. That thought is going to benefit in a lot of ways, because many times HR are in a dilemma, because when they report into leadership, they kind of don't know where to take a stance, because they may be hurting the leadership themselves, because sometimes there are biases. So I feel to move away from bias and to eradicate and to take strong stance on how do we really shape the culture of the organization, something like that will be very helpful. I hope founders think about this a lot more. And I love the part where you're also mentioning how it's important to create branding and culture. I think that's going to be the soul of HR going forward, right? Everything, for example, attracting talent, retaining talent, giving them that proud moments, giving them the development within the organization is so important, but at the same time to tell the entire world what we're doing. So the branding and culture is going to be the soul of everything. That's what's going to pave way for everybody to know what you are. Otherwise, whatever you do is not going out there. So nobody else will know, no attraction is going to happen. I think there's very good questions here about talent war. We'll get there. And how do we win that is something that HR should be really, really at edge of their games, right? So it's great points, Karthik. Of course, transformation. I've seen myself, right? We bring in a lot of tools, but I see end of the day, transformation is only for the HR. Like we only end up using the tool, but nobody else is using the tool. Adaptation is a very, very big challenge, right? So yeah, putting focus back on HR tools, bringing a lot more collaborative tools in place that can help the organization to become more productive. That's great point. So let's move on to Abhimanyu.
Right. So, of course, great points covered by Satish and Karthik already. I will quickly kind of re-emphasize two, which I also very strongly associate with. One, which Satish mentioned, that business context in the HR process is super, super important. The templates never work. Like, for example, if Scaler is an education company, versus, let's say, if Flipkart is an e-commerce company, what HR processes will work for Flipkart, you cannot hope that the same template will work for Scaler. So understanding business in depth and being able to in context propose solutions, that is super important. HR should not be thinking, they should take a deep dive into business decision. They should say things out. They should raise questions about the business decisions as well, right? That's super important. Second is that in context of the treating your employees as your customers as well, that Karthik mentioned, that is also super important, right? We, for example, we very rigorously measure the net promoter score for the employees as well, that how many of them are going to recommend this as a workplace to their friends, colleagues, family, etc., right? If people working with you are not your cheerleaders, if they are not your promoters, there is, you cannot expect. So having a very strong focus is something, that should be totally owned by the HR, because, I very strongly believe that this is the entire ownership area of HR. Now, adding to these two, which actually, I am just repeating what Satish and Karthik mentioned already. A couple of more things that I very strongly believe in, that the high performance comes when there is strong sense of psychological safety in any environment, and second is when there is strong sense of camaraderie. And these things have to be designed for, they do not just come on their own. And this is, I think, like figuring out how to even measure it, that what kind of psychological safety that the entire group has, because I look at company as not just a company but more of a group of people on a mission together, right? And you can win the mission only when everyone have a sense of strong psychological security at the place and strong camaraderie. So designing for that, I think it is also one of the core ownership area that HR should own, which is rooted in building the right culture. But and second is putting the measurability around it and making sure that we are making progress on it. I believe that these are some of the points that I would love. Of course, very thankful to have very strong HR team in our team, but I would love to see most of the HR leaders focusing more on this.
Beautiful, Abhimanyu. I think one of the key metrics HR has to follow, just like Karthik was telling about customer centricity, we're talking about people centricity here. It's the employee NPS. Employee NPS is going to be one metric that every HR has to follow like a religion, right? So I think that really stands out. If your NPS goes down, I think that means you're doing a really, really bad job in how you're motivating and really developing your team. So the talent management gone wrong is directly proportionate to NPS. So thanks for that, Abhimanyu. Saransh, we'd love to hear from you.
Right. So I can talk maybe in terms of where I can see there are gaps, because I'm not able to give enough time. So they broadly fall into three buckets: recruiting, then onboarding a candidate, and then engaging the person and making him feel very welcomed, and just all the employees together, making them building that camaraderie that Abhimanyu was saying. So on the recruiting front, I think it starts from there, just giving candidates a great experience. If someone is not shortlisted, going back to them and giving them feedback about it. But when you're doing, like, let's say you're looking at hundreds of resumes, it's very easy to miss out on these things. And I think just having a good process around there, even the candidates, of course, that you're not hiring, but even the ones that you're hiring, just ensuring that they have like a seamless experience. You're taking feedback on what can be improved in your recruiting process. I think that's one place where an HR adds value. And once the other gap that I've seen is once the employee joins the company, you need a good onboarding process. For us right now, it looks something like a Notion document with a checklist, but it's very dry. And yes, we do like a welcome on Slack, but it just ends over there. I think that's where when an HR comes in and they can add like a lot of focus and making every employee feel very integrated and and just not only in terms of like making them feel welcome, but even them having the right tools to get onto the job. Oftentimes as founders, we don't spend that much time. We know it's important, but then we're not able to spend that much time to do it. So that's the second piece, just onboarding the candidate well. The third thing, this is something that I've seen. Like we do this Friday virtual chai session. Everyone just comes and then we have nothing to talk about because you've not planned it out in advance on what we should actually be doing. So we've now started putting some thought into it, but I think there's a lot of there's a long way for us to go before it becomes truly fun, engaging, enjoyment. I think Karthik actually has built this trivia bot that we are just recently introducing in our company as well. So things like that, like coming up with interesting ideas. We recently put out another bot which just pairs up two employees together randomly, and so that they can just have an informal session, not necessarily talk about work. And so small things like that. And I think it also ties back into the point that Karthik was mentioning, that we need to have like HRs also need to be creative in terms of the tools that are available out there, which can help with these areas.
Totally, Saransh. Great points. While you were talking about these three things that you think are important, right? I just thought about what happened yesterday. We usually at AirMeet have a all hands every alternate Friday. What we do is we bring a lot of our new joinees to come and talk on AirMeet and introduce themselves. So that is one way we are really creating that inclusive environment for them, creating that space where they can voice an opinion, where they can tell about themselves, express their views. And I think the only thing the thing that really works and benefit for us is because we have AirMeet as a platform, and we are using it as much as possible for our own use cases, like for onboarding. We quickly get them on AirMeet and have that first day experience where we give them a lot of briefing, introduce them to buddies, do those video chats with the team, some of the Friday socials. And I think one more thing that Saransh was talking about is, how do we give that inclusion, right, into the organization? So for us, it's happening very naturally at AirMeet because we have our own cafe. It's like a virtual office for us. And then we use that for all of our activities. So not sure if you want to, try that because we do all town halls. We are able to use it for a lot of our employee needs. Saransh, great points there.
I think, sorry, one just quick thing. So kind of extending to Meena's point and, I think answering what Saransh was saying. So I think like a great thing which we've, which has worked out well for us, say for onboarding new employees, we've onboarded around 50 people, since I guess March 2020. So what we do is, have like a custom quiz on a person, right? So things like, exactly what you asked, right? What is one thing which is not on your LinkedIn, right? Or if you were to be, stuck on an island, out of these 4 people, who would you pick, right? So no one obviously knows the right answers to it, right, except the person. But it's just a fun way to kind of know the person outside of work, right? And becomes like a quick, quiz type of a thing. And then it's like there's no prizes to, come first, but it's just like a nice icebreaker to kind of get to know the person, like maybe like 10 questions. And I remember like people used to do this, without like any of these tools outside of say Slack or in person, right? I think it's just like, this is now, given that we are remote, how do we know this person, in the best possible way? Just having these kind of custom questions tailored to that person, and just a lot of fun to get to know that person.
Yeah, I think just to add on a different thing, I'm so glad that I heard from all 3 of them, I think in combined, right? The last 2 solutions that I built is what actually stressed on. One is whole about the employee NPS. That's precisely the solution that in my 10x extra 10x journey that I built called 10x People. Being an evangelist for the whole employee NPS building that whole framework in about my 4-5 years of journey with Flipkart, and also a bunch of startups being adopting to that. I think was very glad to hear about that, and I think I've been a big believer of it. The amount of insights something like an employee NPS tool gives you, especially on drivers within the organization on bottom of view, right? I think HR being analytical, I think HR being looking at in that lens would be awesome. And the second one is especially about, I think, employer branding. I think that's truly what Spotable does. I think I'm glad that there's two places that I touched actually, somewhere all of you are, relating into. Yeah.
That's great, Satish. I think every one of you bring a solution on table, which is very, very useful for HR right now. That's great. But I think some of the questions here, open questions, very interesting ones. Let me look at the top ones here, right? So while a lot of organizations are going either virtual or hybrid, it's gonna put pressure back on the organization, because as right now there is no location limitation in where you're going to hire, right? So that also means that on the flip side, are we going to see a talent war? Because right now anybody can hire from everywhere, right? So that means we're going to be really running behind the same set of talent who everybody else wants, right? So how I kind of already see the talent war is something that we're living with day in day out, because every startup or even late stage startup are starting to hire. But do you think this is going to expand, become more? Love to hear from Satish, because you're on that field. I want you to wear the HR hat now and answer this.
Sure. Yeah, I think it is going to go. I think the war that we have seen, whether it's pre-pandemic on the supply being limited and demand being higher on the job side, I think that's going to continue. I don't think it's going to change, right? I kind of briefly touched upon it when I started in the conversation too. And I think here both Karthik and Abhimanyu, all of them have covered about how do organization can continue to address. I think one, as both founders and HR, I don't think it's different for each other in terms of how do you look at it, right? Are you open to look at, for example, someone working with you for part-time? Are you really open to look at somebody working for 2 days, somebody working for 3 days, right? I think the whole gig economy and people working for multiple companies, which is not very prevalent in India. I think while in the US, actually people consider it as to be perfectly fine. It's part of the way of working to all of that. There's absolutely no problem, right? I think the culture here and people being appreciative of it, I definitely see that is getting better. I think I had a couple of use cases here in the recent past for 1 or 2 organizations that I'm working with. When the candidate and organization came into question marks of, okay, how do we move forward, and or probably the candidate not taking the job, I said, why don't you guys actually go on a part-time mode or a consulting mode to do this engagement for 3 months, right? And this is a Series D stage large brand, okay? And I said, let's both of you date, right? In an absence of a better word, let me use dating, right? And both organization and the talent was actually dating for 3 months. And end of that term, they said, okay, now we can marry. And they got into a full-time. That's one of the solutions to really, so that what it does is for the talent, you get to see how does the organization operate, what is the cultural nuances, and I'm 100% convinced, right? Someone signs up after that period, trust me, they are there for long. You need to do little engagement with that person, right? Secondly, I think, like I spoke about founders and HR being open, how do you build your contracts, so your legal aspects, etc., in terms of those employees being open to working? Like you could be an edutech company, somebody else could be a fintech company, as long as it's not in competition, right? Are you open to take people who are in gig who can add those much of value by spending few hours of it? I think I've seen a bunch of founders and bunch of HR being acceptable to it, but I think you need to find many solutions. I give you some small examples of it. Than thinking traditionally how you thought about, I need all my people on full time. I need, everybody to come in certain way. I think there's a lot of flexibilities need to be built on the business side and the HR side. I have not seen it, happening across. Very, very few percentage of people follow some of these experiments, and it's okay to fail fast to, move on and try some of this. I think the appetite, I think we all need to build better. It's not there today. I think that's one. Secondly, I think Karthik already spoke about it brilliantly on the whole employer branding part, right? And I think it is highly misunderstood and highly I've been part of many of this conversation with founders, HR teams. I think I don't know how many people truly understand how to run a branding chart or how to build the brand, right? I think it's not as simple as going and saying that, okay, let's start a LinkedIn page and start telling about our company. That's not branding, right? Branding is about truly putting authentic employee stories. Yeah, let's employees talk about your brand. Why do you want, as an HR or a founder, want to talk about the brand? Let employees share their true experiences, right? And this is something that I've run as an initiative when I was leading employer branding for Flipkart, and it kind of worked really, really well for Flipkart, right? And there were specific use cases we tried as within pockets of the organization on building the brand on Flipkart, because Flipkart was a brand known, but we were challenges on hiring people in specific areas of Flipkart. So how do you put that authentic story and experience of people being inside? It does a couple of things. One, the kind of work, the quality of work, or how meaningful the work they're doing, it will be visible through those conversations. Secondly, the cultural nuances, right? The DNA of the company would be really, really told outside. I think you need to go, while it's important to articulate your value proposition as a company, what you bring, what is it for someone who join, but I think the more you marry those two, authentic employee story, I think that's a true way of building a brand. Yeah, I think the more you build the brand, the more you connect with the talent pool. I think your ability to attract and have those top talent coming and joining you, and the more, and see the challenge here is, I think as founders, most often we'll say, okay, I need this architect, right? I think what is most important is to know that, and I need from only ABCD companies. I don't want to name them, okay? And that's how usually the requirements I've seen, founders or the leadership team talk about, right? But I think what's important to understand is the talent really sign up in your vision or what you're building, right? I think knowing the person behind, like Karthik was briefly talking about some of the things they do after, right? I do a bunch of things during my interview conversations, right? Things like, Meena, you asked me beginning that's a question, my standard question to every candidate I meet. Okay, what's about you which is not there in your LinkedIn, right? And truly understanding the person. I know if an organization, for example, spend half a day, it's a startup, half a day to spend only understand the person. They call it as a who round, okay? That's all they spend. So it's important to understand the person behind. I mean, that's debatable about which should we spend half a day or 1 hour, but yeah, I'm talking about what they're trying to do there, right? Truly understand the person behind the profile. What are they up to? What matters to them at the life stage and professional, career time of them? What truly matters to them, right? I think the more you spend time in understanding the person, as equally important as looking at the competence of the person in the interview process, right? I think today, by design, the interview process are, designed in a way that all the questions and all the rounds are heavy on understanding technical or functional aspect of the person, right? And I know of companies who are like, okay, why HR round? We all met, let's hire, right? So I think it's important you kind of spend and understand the person. You can reduce the number of no-show or rejects that you see in the offer process. You can have these people spending, I think those days are over about people spending 7, 8 years, 10 years in the companies, right? I believe in short terms also people can drive high impact. So even if that 3 or 4 years of shorter tenure that we're looking at, I think these people, those folks will, or those talent will highly engage with the company and will spend. And I think that set of people will be highly productive also. And know of a bunch of organizations who do it effectively, but I think as a larger ecosystem, as founders, I think all of us have a lot of opportunity to do this better. So addressing the question on talent war, I think these are some of the things that I would encourage everyone to do, and I would do personally too in my own organization.
Thank you so much, Satish. I think you kind of really helped us summarize how to win the talent war.
Yeah.
Right. So that's brilliant. I think in my belief, I don't know if we're expecting a bigger war, but the war has already begun, and we need to start curbing it from the top itself, right? So I think I might want to hear from Karthik. What do you do? What do you do to win this talent war now? Anything that is particularly?
Sure. So I think extending on what Satish said about obviously employer brand, kind of all of that is very, very helpful. So we've done a great job on Glassdoor. We were on 4.9 with 128 ratings. So Glassdoor actually has been one of our highest sources of traffic coming in inbound. So that really helps compared to any other company in India. So that it's like a nice organic flow of candidates always coming to work with us. And not just like the first round, but like people like I have two offers. Should I go with a company which is 4.2 versus 4.8? Glassdoor generally works well, right? It's like when you go out to eat, you're generally checking Zomato and making sure this is a nice place to eat, right? And here it's a company where you're going to be spending 60 to 70% of your time, right? So people kind of do their homework with Glassdoor, or sometimes even do employee references on LinkedIn and whatnot. So I think focusing on Glassdoor is generally very useful. A lot of companies, especially in India, have not done that. We do it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn does not really have anonymous reviews. Glassdoor has that. So I think that's a big point. The second, I think, on the no-show, so inspired by Kunal Shah from Cred, what we do is we send out a welcome kit on the day the offer is rolled out to the person, which kind of contains like our jacket, stickers, and like a chocolate bag and things like that. So it kind of leads with trust, right? Okay, we trust you to join us, we trust you to work with us, we want to work with you, this is what it is, right? And then it kind of puts the ball in their game, right? So obviously there will be some people who will get this and still go to another company for multiple reasons, right? Higher of salaries and whatnot. But in most cases, they actually let us know, okay, it's 2 weeks from joining, I got this another offer. I know that you spend a lot of time on it. Would you be able to, say, increase it or whatever it is, right? I think that is still better than knowing on the day of joining, right? Which is typically what used to happen earlier. So I think doing something like where you're leading with trust. Like Cred sends a laptop on the day of the offer letter acceptance. I think that's obviously the ultimate goal, but I think a step before that is like sending a welcome kit kind of a thing. And then we do a WhatsApp group with every single person, right? So what we do is the person has signed the offer, let's do a WhatsApp group till the person's joining, and let's just engage there, right? Like Twitter, our tweets, LinkedIn stories, things like that. Let's talk about different things the person would be doing in the first week of joining, right? So we kind of do that, try to engage, and that's a great sign. If you see a person has not replied for a week, he or she is not going to be joining, right? As simple as that, right? So I think that's very useful, especially for an early stage company like us, right, where you roll out an offer to 3 people and 1 out of 3 does not join. That's like the industry metric, and it's bad, right? It hurts because you make all your plans and then this happens. So I think no-show is just kind of, these are some techniques to kind of I guess reduce the impact of no-show, right? I don't think you can ever go to 0. Then and just overall on finally on the talent for expanding the employer brand, I think references is again one untapped thing, right? How do we tap into references? And it's not just asking employees to someone who would be a good fit to work with us, right? Because if you ask me, like even I would not know, right? Because all of us come across 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. How would you even remember who is where, what is this person doing, things like that, right? So I think there the HR or the founder, whoever it is, needs to put in some effort, right? Go through the LinkedIn, ask that person to share, say, okay, you were at this company, can you reach out to a few of those folks? Can you reach out to this university you were from, right? And then I think that's a great way of kind of attracting talent, right? Especially people in the above 5 years of experience, right? 5 to 8, 5 to 10, and sometimes higher as well, because those people are, I think, generally in Bangalore, they would say, okay, they have a decent salary. They're not really looking to shift because of 30%, 40% hike, but more want to get the culture, want to focus on work-life balance and whatnot, right? And they would come with they would come for employer references, right? Which we've seen, that happen a lot. So I think that is something we can do. And, I think overall with talent war going borderless, it is going to happen, right? I don't think we can prevent it. One thing which is going for us is time zones. It's very hard to work with a company in the US, completely opposite time zones. So that's a positive, for India. But, kind of expanding, as in taking time zones to a certain more extent, and then saying, can we meet in person? Can we do offsites and those type of things? I want to just kind of help retain talent, but salaries is going to be a challenge, as kind of more companies across the world go remote.
Sure, Satish. Beautiful points covered there. I think some of your learnings are amazing, because that's going to help us win the war from an experience point of view. When you said we send out those welcome kits, WhatsApp group engagement, those are great initiatives. Thanks for sharing, Karthik. At Airmeet also, we do a lot of these post-offer engagement because we've quickly seen that it's so important to engage people when suddenly they have a 30 days, 60 days, 90 days notice period. If you're not having those check-ins on a regular basis, then you've lost them. They would only give you surprises, right? Thank you for sharing, Karthik. Abhimanyu, I know, Satish also kind of gave us a good understanding about the gig workers, how HRs and leadership should be extremely flexible in terms of getting in talent who may not be committed to you, but they will definitely bring in efficiency, right?
Right.
So you also running the company from called the Interview Bit. How do you see this, right? How do you see companies winning the talent war where everything is now supposedly to be very flexible and agile?
Right. No, so, our learnings in last few years consistently have been, hello?
We can hear you, Abhinamay. Go.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So one thing that, my other co-founder, Anshuman, he also says that hiring the right people is a full-time job for founders. And that is probably the most important thing, right? Because if we can have the right people in the team, then, 99% of the problems are automatically taken care of. Founders, and actually I have also learned this, even if I can talk about two instances. Travis Kalanick, who was, the founder of Uber, I was very surprised that some of my friends who have been working in Bay Area for quite some time, they told me that Travis have been for his new startup he's setting up, he had been meeting these folks one-on-one multiple times on coffee just to convince them to join his company, right? That is the amount of effort that these people who have actually built these really big companies put to find the right people. And I think particularly for a startup like ours, it's no-brainer. Founders have to go hunt, convince, and sell the mission. No one, you cannot outsource this. You absolutely cannot outsource this. Another example I can take is of Bhavin, Directize CEO. So, I have known Bhavin since 2009 when we did internship. Since then, I have seen, how much hard work he puts into, just the find right people. All the way, I wouldn't even say that, senior leadership. Even, for example, he was visiting ISB back in 2009, and me and Anshuman, we were in college in 4th year at that time. And he called us up and said that, why don't you guys, we should catch up. I'm in Hyderabad, I'm right next to your college, we should catch up, right? So that is the amount of effort that, these entrepreneurs who have actually built these massive organizations, that is the amount of work they put in to, attract and find the right talent. I cannot, and of course, HR is another one of the most powerful arm for the company along with the founders who can help with that. So I think, biggest win for founder or HR can only be how many high impact people you can attract. So, that's the most important thing in my opinion.
Thank you, Abhimanyu. Yes, I think we need to be on the lookout, always hunting and bringing in the most efficient people who is going to kind of accelerate your business, right? So it is the sole responsibility of people in the leadership, especially leadership who will hone the founder's mentality, right? That's great points, Abhimanyu. Saransh, do you want to add?
No, I look at like there's definitely a war, but it's definitely an opportunity as well. I've been surprised by the caliber of engineering talent we've been able to find. They are from second tier cities, completely unexpected, and they just blew our minds in terms of what are the side projects they've been working on. They might not be the best communicators, but then they're just like they're just supreme programmers, and they're very good communicators also. A lot of them. So I think one interesting thing, like in my previous startup, our mindset was that we have to be all in the same office. That shift has happened completely. We're okay with remote. We are okay with hybrid, and that just opens up a lot of talent. So we're not at that stage yet where we're hiring too many people. So for a earlier stage company, that's definitely opportunity right now in terms of getting good candidates.
Sounds good, Farhan. So I just before we open this conversation for audiences to ask questions, I want to really summarize this quick conversation here. When we talk about how to win the talent war, I want you to pick just one thing that you would do, right, which is close to your heart. For example, Satish spoke about building the brand with employee stories. Karthik spoke about a lot of swag and engagement, like sending out welcome kits, sending all those goodies and all of that. Abhimanyu spoke about how leadership and founders should be the sole responsible people to go and hunt your own talent. Then Saransh is talking about how do we give that experience to people, right? So he's looking at it as an opportunity with giving a great experience to people where we'll be able to attract. So if these are four options, which one would you pick as your top, Satish?
No, I think it's probably not the brand part, right? In combination with finding the believer, right? I think the example that Abhimanyu mentioned about all of these founders meeting, what they truly look for is the believers. I think the one thing I'll pick is the brand will be used to find the believers, right? So if I can attract believers, I think that's one thing I'll pick up.
Got it. Karthik?
So I think it's a combination, it's brand, believers, and engagement, right? Like once you find a person you want to work with, how do you kind of engage to make sure the person joins? Because obviously the best candidates are always passive candidates who are not really looking for a job, right? And when they are looking, they get multiple offers, right? So how do you kind of engage and make sure they, as in not just before joining, but even after joining, so they retain with you, right? So I think it's a combination of building the brand to attractive believers, and then kind of making sure you engage with them pre and post hire, and to just make sure they kind of retain with you and they bring on more believers with you.
Got it. Abhimanyu?
Yeah. No, I am 100% with what Satish said. Believers is what matters. People who believe in the mission, they will automatically be the owners for the mission. And they will be doing everything, like it doesn't, like ideal situation to be in where you do not have to tell people what needs to be done, but they figure out, they come and say that, for the mission, this is what needs to be done. Another example I can give from Flipkart, Satish, I think you might know. I think the person who heads Flipkart Tech right now joined Flipkart as an intern back in 2009, right? And that is, the example of being believer, right? It's not that intern was the most capable or most experienced person when he joined Flipkart in 2009. So believer is what I very strongly believe in as well.
Beautiful, Abhimanyu. I think it's hire for the will and always give them the opportunity to grow talent. It's beautiful. Saransh, what do you think?
Nothing more that I can add. I think believers is obviously what we're looking for as well.
So hire for the will, look at people who believe in your mission, give them opportunities to grow within. I think that really stands out into this talk about talent war. That's great. I think all HRs are hearing. They would love to put this into practice. And quickly, I'd love to open this conversation for audience if anybody wants to come on to the stage and ask questions. We are too pressed for time to really address all of them, but we will definitely pick it up and have them as topics going forward. Anybody wants to raise hand and come on? Okay, we can pick one question from the questions tab. Okay. So one of the highly rated question is, what are the top 2 or 3 things you're doing in your company which keeps the team motivated, engaged, and make them feel that the company cares for them, right? So basically he's trying to summarize and ask, what do you do to really include the team really well, right? What do you do to include them and keep them motivated? So we might want to do a quick round robin with just 1 or 2 words on what are the 1 or 2 things that you do to keep them motivated. Let's start with Karthik perhaps.
Sure. So I think one thing we started doing very well after COVID is updates every single week. Right? What is happening? Like what is just we've seen in terms of both talent, existing products, revenue, metrics, things which we are thinking about. Just very frequent, updates every single week, and not not like month or quarter and whatnot. It kind of leads to transparency, reduces anxiety, and people feel really connected, to the overall company mission and values.
Amazing, Karthik. Create visibility, he said. So, Abhimanyu? You're on mute, Abhimanyu. Okay, until he joins, let's go to Satish.
So I think, like Karthik mentioned about the whole transparency, of course, that's something we try doing. I think in addition to that, one of the things that we do is pick up phone, talk to all your employees randomly, right? I mean, it's very important, and don't talk about work. Ask everything else, right? I think very, very small things, but I think these basic things most often we miss, and I think it makes, and people are sometimes surprised, people are like, nothing else that you wanted to ask when you end the call saying that there is no work. I think, yeah, some of the things that we do.
Great. So create personal check-ins.
Yeah,
right? That's great. So Abhimanyu is
Yeah,
back.
I'm so sorry being at home is, having to handle
No
kids
problem.
as well. Yeah. No, so, probably what I wanted to say, Satish mentioned exactly the same, that, check-ins, frequent check-ins, that definitely is something that helps a lot. Nothing, I do not really have much to add there.
Got it. Saransh, anything in particular?
I think the updates part definitely, and then just being empathetic towards your team members. Like if someone's having a bad day or is feeling a bit sick, just reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, you can take a break today," and something of that sort. So I think goes into the same feeling of just do informal check-ins with your colleagues. And we also every week pair up. Everyone can pair up with someone they've not spoken to, so that they'll discover shared hobbies or just get to know the other person outside of work-related topics. So you can do that.
Sure, Saransh. So you were talking about being extremely flexible coupled with being empathetic. Just to add my 2 cents, I think one of the things that has worked really well for us in AMED is to place trust, like blindly trust. It's okay, right? So many times what happens is, since we are fully virtual, it's so easy for us to start micromanaging people and telling them, we didn't see you, you're not available, you're missing an action, right? It's very easy. Like you don't see someone 2 days, you feel like nothing's happening. So we kind of message it out to people that we trust you. Whatever you're doing something that's going to impact the organization. So we have this very simple Slack channel that says not available. And the tagline there is flexibility with responsibility, right? So you can just go there and say that not available for 3 hours, no questions asked. So one of the things that really helps people keep themselves motivated and keep contributing back to the company is nobody's picking on them, nobody's asking questions. They are fully on themselves. We trust them, and we feel that should motivate them to kind of own their work and deliver on time and all of that. So thanks, guys. I think great. Quickly to summarize these questions, I think we saw about things that stood out as create business visibility on a very frequent basis, because right now we are all in different locations, working hybrid, working virtually. That also means it's important to create transparency. Personal check-ins are also really important. And coupled with the fact that you want to stay flexible and empathetic is going to win the game for us. Thank you so much. I think we can kind of quickly end the session, because there are plenty of other questions. We can look into them later, perhaps summarize them and then publish it as well. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you all, Satish, Karthik, Abhimanyu, and Saransh. Really enjoyed the session and learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing this time. I hope our team, our attention really learns from this. Thank you and have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Satish. Thanks, Karthik. Thanks, Arun.
Thank you. Thank you very much.